it's not ethical.
Yeah, just whenever you...
So, hi everybody, my name is Noelia Pasi. I'm a chemist and a co-founder of the Animals Battalion, which is an animal rights group in New York City and New Jersey. And today we're going to talk about how little food labels tell about animal cruelty. And we're going to try to make the connection how GMOs also affects animals and the environment. So, genetically modified crops have been used to feed farm animals for decades in the United States. The use of hormones and antibiotics has been causing the animals to get sicker every day. So what happens when animals are confined in cramped, filthy environments and force-fed monoculture diets of genetically modified corn and soy? The answer is simple. A lot can happen. So cows are born too weak to walk, with large joints and limb deformities. Piglets experience rapidly deteriorating health, a failure to thrive, so severe that they start breaking down their own tissues and organs, self-cannibalizing to survive. Many animals suffer from weak, brittle bones that easily fracture. About 5 to 10 days after normal, healthy piglets are weaned of their mother's milk, they become gaunt, pale, and anorexic. Their health goes south rapidly. It is called post-weaning failure to thrive syndrome, or PFTS. It causes piglets to catabolize or break down their own tissue and organs, and essentially self-cannibalizing. Next comes emaciation, and then euthanasia. More likely, the cause, I'm sure it is, is diet related, as the disease manifests when the piglets begin eating food. The diet theory is supported by post-mortems showing that the affected piglets have lesions in their stomachs and intestines. Dairy cows develop mastitis, a painful udder infection. Beef cattle develop liver abscesses, and an excruciating condition referred to as twisted gut. It all adds up to a lot of misery for animals unfortunate enough to be on the receiving end of industrial agriculture big GMO experiment. So let's talk about the bovine growth hormones and how it affects the animals. Scientists at Monsanto use a bovine growth hormone known by initials RBGH, which is given to them to increase their production of milk. It is known as crack for cows. By accelerating the cow's metabolism, it produces mastitis, a painful infection in the udder, which creates pus. This leads to the presence of antibiotics in addition to the RBGH milk already present. Somatic cells, more commonly known as pus cells, are counted in milk sold for human consumption, as there are legal limits as to how much it can contain. So let's talk about how much pus the milk in the United States can contain compared to the one in Europe. Somatic cells are the white blood cells that are the defense against bacteria that invade the udder and can cause mastitis. In United Kingdom and Europe, the cow's milk can legally contain up to 400 million pus cells per liter. So 1 teaspoonful of milk can legally have 2 million pus cells. On the other hand, the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, allows 750 million pus cells in every liter of milk produced in America. Currently, our limit is almost twice of what is selling in Europe. 17 states in America are producing milk that would be illegal to be sold in Europe right now. The most common side effects resulting for this are immune deficiency problems, infertility, cholesterol, and insulin. Accelerated ages and changes in kidney, liver, gallbladder, and gastrointestinal system may also occur. So, how this affects the kids, which most of them drink milk. Children are more sensitive to GMOs than adults because they metabolize food more quickly and are more sensitive to a small amount of toxins. The immune system of children is not equipped to deal with these toxins. Neither do they have well-developed intestinal flora, because it's still developing, with the enzymes necessary to digest these foods, which means that children are much more vulnerable to GMO exposure. So let's cover the Roundup, the very well known herbicide. The active ingredient of Roundup is glyphosate. It was patented by Monsanto way before we all know. It was patented in 1964 as a multi-use chelating agent. In plants, the chelating agent does not allow them to nourish, promotes diseases in the soil, and the plant dies. So it pretty much is. It kills everything in the soil, so even the plant grows doesn't have any nutrients. So when the animals eat it, they're not healthy, and then the people eat it after that. So plants treated with Roundup are very low in nutrients and are sick. When they're consumed by farm animals, these animals develop weak and sickly. When people eat meat containing these diseases, Roundup reaches their organs and produces nutritional deficiencies. Studies have found that part of the gene inserted into the genetically modified soy has entered the DNA of the bacteria that live inside of our intestines. So we all have it inside of our intestines already. There is no way to go away. And stay there. Among other possible symptoms, the most notorious are gastrointestinal disorders, deformities at birth, which are so many in Argentina right now. That's why 15 cities today are marching over there. Increase in cases of cancer and infertility. Infertility is one of the cases in this country. There is so many people going for treatment to be pregnant right now because the infertility rates are going so high here. And accelerated aging of cells. So how the Roundup is affecting the decline of the monarch butterfly colonies, that's what we're going to talk about now. The number of monarch butterflies in 2014 has been the lowest in the past 20 years, with an estimated reduction of 94 of the population. 94. Roundup using soy and genetically modified maize has contributed to the disappearance of meat wheels, plants that feed butterflies, leaving them without food to survive. The butterflies migrate from Canada to Mexico through Texas. On this journey, they leave their eggs on the leaves to guide other butterflies that are traveling behind them. So this, however, does not occur. Due to the high death rate, the butterflies who before could follow the king, now they get lost without any eggs to guide them. But the problem is much larger than just the monarch butterfly. All pollinators, including bees and butterflies, are under threat due to urban development and current agricultural practices that are destroying their natural habitat. Bees are responsible for 1 in 3 bags of food we eat. The process of pollination consists of the carrying of pollen grains. The male sex cells in plants carry the pollen to the female cells, and then the fertilization occurs. The bees pollinate food that we eat, such as tomatoes, beans, and strawberries. A total of about $224 billion worth of crops worldwide. Beginning in 2006, beekeepers in the United States began to report unexplained losses of hives, leading to a phenomenon known as, most of us probably here, colony collapse disorder, known with the ZZD, dying off an increasingly high rate. Studies have shown that the effect of the two most widely used neonicotinoids, pesticides, was having a big impact on the occurrence of ZZD. So, what do studies say? What the scientists are saying about this? Scientists from Harvard studied the health of 18 bee colonies in 3 different locations in central Massachusetts during the period of 6 months between 2012 and 2013. At each location, 4 colonies were treated. 2 were treated with realistic doses of 2 types of neonicotinoids, and 2 were untreated control hives. The results show that half of the bees treated with these pesticides abandoned their hives and were eventually dead with symptoms resembling CCD. However, it was observed that a complete opposite phenomenon occurred in the control colonies. Only 1 control colony was lost due to the infection by the parasitic fungus Nosema, which is very normal and it happens a lot of times during the winter. And in this case, the dead bees remain in the hives. Most of the time try to come back, but which is probably the opposite of what's happening with the bees treated with the neonicotinoids. It is striking and perplexing to observe that anti-nicotinoid treated colonies because honeybees normally do not abandon their hives during the winter, the scientists wrote. This observation may suggest the impairment of honeybee neurological functions, specifically memory, cognition, or behavior, as a result from the chronic lethal neonicotinoid exposure. Early research showed neonicotinoid exposure can damage the renowned ability of bees to navigate home, so they're not able to come back. So how it works, what exactly happens when the bee is in contact with the pesticide? The pesticide remains in every part of the plant, including roots, pollen, leaves, and nectar. And if the bee drinks water from the plant droplets, the neurotoxin blocks the nerve ending on the bees, paralyzing the bees and starving them to death. So it's very easy, even if you Google it, that's what I did, you can see them shaking until they die. In a very horrific way. So what Bayer crop science says about it, you know? Neonicotinoids, also known as antibiotics, are produced by a giant chemical company like Bayer, Crop Science, and Syngenta, which are Monsanto partners and some of its biggest providers. Neonicotinoids have been registered in more than 120 countries around the world. With a global turnover of 1.5 billion euros in 2008, that's how much money they make out. They represent 20% of the global market for insecticides. After the introduction of this neonicotinoid in the 1990s, this market has grown from 155 million euros to 957 million euros, so pretty much 6 times. David Fisher, director of environmental toxicology and risk assessment for Bayer Crop Science, responded to a blog article which was posted in Bayer website as well. He said the following. This is what Bayer said. However, it's important to know that CCD is a symptom, not a disease. Just as a fever is symptomatic of many different illnesses in humans, the rapid disappearance for colonies of working honeybees appears to be a symptom too, that can occur during the end stages of multiple bees. What is clear is that the occurrence of CCD and honeybee colony losses in general are not correlated, of course, are not correlated with exposure levels to agrochemicals. In some cases, the description of colony losses are very similar to those described above. The idea that it all started in 2006 is just a myth. That's what it is. So something to think about. Not correlated, I strongly disagree. While symptomatic are similar events to what we now call CCD, what historical documented, it was by 2006 that the frequency and spread of CCD symptomatically reached previous unheard levels. Would it not be more accurate to say that a correlation has not been established, even when we all know, rather than just dismiss it as a myth? So, what the EPA says about this. In April 2014, President Obama created an Interagency Pollinator Health Task Force, co-chaired by the Environmental Protection Agency and the Agriculture Department, which developed a national pollinator health strategy. This bill received more than 1 million public comments urging for swift action on neonicotinoid pesticides, the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, plan is to reinforce its April 2 announcement, which are the following. The agency may consider restriction on a broad range of foliar use, but did not allow restrictions for pesticide-coated seeds, one of the largest use of bee farming. So pretty much what they say is we're going to review until 2017 and then we're going to decide about it. The agency will take as long as 2017 to complete the review and encourages the state and tribes to develop pollinator protection plans, which beekeepers have publicly opposed. So now to finish, what should be really done about this? Friends of the Evergreen America Business Network and the American Sustainable Business Council issued the following response to the EPA announcement. The Obama administration must take immediate action to address the threats pollinators face from pesticides to protect our economy, food system, and all of us. An effective strategy to save pollinators necessitates the following steps. Cancel the registrations of all systemic persistent pesticides. Close the EPA's condition registration loophole, which allow pesticides, including neonicotinoids, to enter the market before adequate toxicity testing is completed. Expedite the development and implementation of valid test guidelines for sublethal effects of pesticides. Ensure that administration assessments and all future EPA assessments fully value the broad array of ecosystem services threatened by systemic insecticides, included but not limited to natural pest control and soil enhancement. Regulate the planting of treated seeds as a pesticide application. And ensure EPA compliance with the Endangered Species Act to prevent killing our nation's most imperiled species. Increase investment in green, fair, and cutting-edge alternatives, pesticides, that support a prosperous agricultural system. And this, my friend, is the hidden story of animal victim of GMOs that is behind the letters. Thank you. Any questions?
It would be interesting if somebody would do a study on some bee colonies that lived or whatever were located in like a large organic farm to see how they thrived or didn't thrive.
They have done it in Europe, and that's where this banned for 2 years. The ban went on the end of 2013, so we should be the result by the end of 2015. But what they see now is that in the European Union and a few more countries, but they see the results already. The numbers are going up again.
What's banned? Pesticides?
It's the clotamine is the most, because neonicotinoids is a family of 5 or 6 different pesticides, but the clotamine that is sold by, that is being produced by Bayer is the one that has been using for very long.
So that's been banned since 2014, and already the numbers are going back up? Wow. I wonder when that information is going to get out.
Yeah, that was one of my problems when I was looking online.
Huge problem.
Yes, and they're suffering because the way that they're dying.
Yeah.
I Google it and then I watch a video on YouTube and it's heartbreaking how they shake and they shake.
I was reading an article about the super weeds that are, what you're saying, they're becoming used to the pesticides and they're growing like even tougher. And they said that farmers, part of their bottom line that's increasing is buying stronger and more tires because their tires get shredded by these super weeds. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. Yeah. It is crazy.
Yeah.
And this past 2 years, the concentration is going up and up. In USA, the FDA is allowing, it's giving the permission to still selling all this stuff.
I'm surprised there's no leadership from the White House. because they have a garden. They have a garden, you know, right on the property.
Of course, and the cafeteria in the White House, everything is organic too.
Isn't that interesting?
I heard that Monsanto headquarters, it's all organic in the cafeteria too.
Oh, wow.
I'm sure that is. St. Louis.
Well, we need
I'm gonna write Michelle.
I know. If you really pay attention.
Why?
How much time is it?
I mean, oh, yeah. If I thought he just did something.
Isn't there a former Monsanto lawyer that's the FDA, Mike Taylor?
Yeah.
He's on the inside.
Yeah, he's the, all right.
And I know Hillary Clinton has worked for Monsanto. So if she wins, let's see what's going to happen.
And also, Terrence Thomas is also a Monsanto lawyer. He's in court.
Oh, really?
He was also controversial.
Yeah.
Good group of leaders we have. Corporate leaders.
But that's also the thing with like Philip Morris. Like I don't know if you guys were on to like where she was saying these compounds come from. They're nicotine based. So everything that's coming in, you know, through like Obama smokes openly. That's kind of like, you know, oh, I'm cool, I'm a smoker, you know. But Philip Morris is tied in with everything. Who's lobbying for what, and that's scratching each other's back. Like they're all intertwined.
So these pesticides come from tobacco?
They're from nicotine, like derivatives. Neonicotinoids are like the new wave nicotine. So like if Marlboro has crop A, 25%, I'm making up numbers, I can't speak to that specifically, are being bought out or fed into these experiments, into these, that's where it's all, nothing like, you know, they're not wasting anything here, and even like, what?
I wonder if like the use of these types of pesticides has gone up as smoking's gone down. They're like, we got to use this tobacco.
No, that's
for something.
exactly it. I mean, how many, like when, before like last year, did you see a Monsanto commercial? You guys have seen that fucking commercial where they're sitting like, the Monsanto feeds families, and like dinner is a time to gather up. And I saw that, I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like now they have to advertise, you know what I mean? So it's like,
Hopefully
they know what's happening.
they're feeling
Yeah,
the pressure.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
Just a comment. As a vegan and as an animal rights activist, a lot of the stuff you were saying about the pus and the milk, man, that's really scary.
Yes, I do workshops for moms in New Jersey, and when they hear all that I'm, all that I cover here, they just go and say, okay, let's try coconut milk, let's try, so. And I think people are starting to learn what's going on, because even if you go to Shopping, you see a lot more, almond milk, coconut milk, soy milk than when I came to this country 10 years ago. Unbelievable change that we can see. So, and I think that's all that we can do right now, you know? Just put impression and telling everybody what's going on, and pass it on.
It's also an increase in autism as well in
It's
the
terrible.
roundup.
I get that question a lot
Yeah.
when I talk. If I believe there is a link between that, well, it is proved that they have lower tolerance to lactose, the kids that have autism. But even if you go farther than that, I think the future has a lot to do with that too. That's my opinion. So when I talk in the workshop, the moms go like, what? Workshop? Like, what? The milk? But then they kind of process everything, and they get back to me, and then I get emails, where do you buy this, or where can I buy this cheaper, and I send them, I say, okay, go and buy the organic beans in ShopRite, because they have a ShopRite grocery. So at least they're trying, Sometimes you don't have the money to buy everything organic, but at least there are certain things that are very important to avoid, I would say. Because even the strawberry, the organic strawberries, that come from California, even the organic, of course, it has some level of.
Speak a little bit about, in your estimation, the qualification of the word organic by agribusiness So, and whether you, and I mean, I don't really know much about this. One curious. So, do you think that the FDA's definition of organic criteria that has to be satisfied
It's changing.
is?
This
do you think it's good?
This, I read, no, well, they're always going to do what is convenient for them. So if they see organic sales are going up, they're going to try, to find a way to make money out of it. So I read about a few months ago that before it was like 1% of GMO on it, like something that is coming from there. Now the levels are going down, maybe 6%, 7% on it, and it's still considered organic, and they get the label anyway.
With the high levels of cross-pollination and, onto non-GMO crops, don't you need those percentages though for people who are trying? But just because of the way, pollens work, that it may still be from an organic farm, but their percentages are going up.
Exactly.
So it's like, it's not necessarily fair to, like, I'm not saying.
No, but you're totally right.
But
Yeah, that's a very good point.
organic farmers have to deal with levels.
Oh, they have to deal with a lot.
Yeah.
And what I read the other day is a lot of farmers are feeding their animals with organic, that they even with organic, but they don't say it publicly because they're afraid. Because they're switching, because they saw that the animals get really sick and they have to spend more money on taking to the vet, giving antibiotics, and giving real food, and then when they go back to the GMO, you can see in a lot of documentaries that explain that. And then when they go back to the GMO, they get sick again, so they lose a lot of money, and at the end, a lot of them are listening just to start feeding them with GMO. And it's very cool because they don't get to choose, like you and me,
Yeah, and even a lot of different types of produce. Like, it sucks. I won't even eat strawberries, raspberries anymore. They're sponges. So even if they were like remotely close to somebody who might have used something, I mean, carcinogens are carcinogens. So anything coming from nicotine is going to have carcinogenic properties. That's how it works. Like, that's the exact definition of why something like Roundup works. It's mutating the cells of bees, as a side effect, obviously, of the plants themselves. It's increasing tolerance. I mean, it's the same as if a pill will only work to a degree. Like the way that our pharmaceutical industry is working is that it treats symptoms, it doesn't really treat disease, and this is no different. It's the same exact thing. It's just what, new chemical can you sell to treat the current symptom and then put another label on it. So like, even if something gains the label organic and, even if something passes through FDA regulations, it's not to say it's not killing tons of people, it just is satisfying whatever number they've now decided is the new level.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it sucks even like to just not even want to entertain, maybe these strawberries are okay for it. Like, it sucks.
Yeah, what I say, everybody loves when I say that during the workshop of the month. Say it's like the apple from Snow White. It looks nice, it looks good, but